There's been so much talk about Dr. CB as it pertains to good old Nipsey, and I just want to throw my 2 cents out there and talk about Nipsey and CB and Lisa Left Eye, the late Lisa Left Eye. I'll even go the late great Lisa Left Eye. Now, a lot of people jumped on this Dr. CB conspiracy in the beginning, and I do believe that was a part of what people are calling, agents and controlled opposition, things like that. And a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon of that as it being seen as obvious to begin with that he was promoting this just days and weeks before he was ousted. And, but the reality is behind that is, Dr. CB has been doing his thing rather loudly for years. He's rather well known to many communities. And I think it's like maybe the hood that is the last to know. So Nipsey was speaking to his community. Things like Dr. CB are researched more outside of the poor or minority communities. And Nipsey, again, was speaking to his community in South Central LA about these topics and the overall hip hop and black community who, most haven't heard of Dr. CB. And that's what the, justice to his community that he was doing. Because, like I said, there is a gap in circumstance, at least. Like I said, Dr. CB was rather well known. So I don't think it's very clear, I think, to even a lot of people that were promoting that theory to begin with. But it still kind of seems to resonate because there's still some higher level fishy stuff going on. So it still has traction. And that's where I'm speaking today, at least, like I said, throwing my logic out there that in my experience, in my research, but, it comes together into having an opinion on this. Now, as I was saying, Dr. CB is very well known outside of, in most communities. And I wouldn't say like well known, but I mean, he's not like Oprah famous, but I mean, it's not like I said, like a Nipsey documentary was going to change the world on the circumstance. Now, Lisa Left Eye, people say that she was, that she was sacrificed or executed because of what she was putting out as far as her health, but and her, her alternative health methods and things like that. But that's most likely not true, as much as that might be, the simple way to explain it, or seemingly a way to explain it. Lisa was, if you do research on Lisa, she was essentially very troubled. She was very troubled. She drank a lot, and she would cut herself. She was into the cutting, of course, some drugs, and she burnt down her husband's home, freaking out. I think she was in a lot of stress and in a lot of had a lot of issues from her childhood. She started drinking really young, hardcore alcohol with her dad, and so the story's known if people do the research that she was very troubled. Now, she also had herpes, allegedly, and that's where Dr. CB came in. According to him, he did heal her, and according to her idolization of him, it would seem that he did as well. But he didn't mention it until after she passed, but she never admitted it herself that I know of in my research. Again, she's very troubled, history of addiction, things like that. And so she started going to him when TLC was just about at their height, or she was going to him when TLC was just about at their height. She became more than she blossomed. I mean, she truly blossomed, and she essentially began to evolve beyond TLC and the message that they were presenting. And that became her industry issue. I guess her issue with the industry, or the industry taking issue with her, and basically the tension within her little tribe with TLC, and then with their relation to the industry and her relation with all of that. She began to not want to promote the sexual promiscuity that TLC was about. She wanted to tone it down, things like that, and the other girls wanted to turn it up. And of course the producers and everything else wanted them to turn it up. The industry wanted them to turn it up as far as their raciness and their sexiness and things. So, she started spending a lot of time for her own health, wellness, mental, well-being in Honduras, visiting CB. She, like I said, evolved and blossomed and became a different person. But, she'd go back to the world and still had struggles with it seemed. Now, what happened, she was out there on a fast. She was out in Honduras on a fast with, Dr. CB. And I mean, actually, she was doing a film with a few other girls, and they were doing the fast and the cleanse as well. And like I said, according to one of the CB diets and CB fast, they were all, I don't even know, probably at least 2-3 weeks in, if I remember right, but well into this thing. And she was driving these girls somewhere, and they were videotaping for the documentary that they were making. And so they were videotaping her, and someone handed her a lunchbox, I do believe it was. And this video is on YouTube. I shouldn't even be talking all this out, really. I mean, just put the clip in there. But I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's probably for a reason. But the point is that, they handed her a lunchbox. She kind of got distracted. It looked like she had a kind of a moment of thought. And then I don't know if the tire went flat or what, but it just shows that the car just veered off, and she kind of veered off and went in the ditch, and she was the only one that perished. And you could see that she wasn't wearing a seatbelt or anything like that when they were videotaping her. She was very relaxed. It was this kind of crappy Jeep. I mean, probably something they rented from around there, and driving on some crappy road in Honduras, and a little too fast, it seemed, and cruising along a little too relaxed. And I think the fast had something to do with it personally. I mean, it's probably not the best time to be driving down the road at 50 miles an hour after 2 weeks of not eating. So probably wasn't in her most grounded state. But, here nor there, the reality is that, a lot of other circumstances played into her perishing or evolving to her next dimensional state, whatever that may be for her. But she was an amazing being, and that's where I want to relate it to Nipsey. It's not about so much of what they were going to, not about their association so much with CB. It was about who they were. Lisa and Nipsey went through their own personal apotheosis. They went through an evolutionary process amongst themselves and through those and with those around them. But that's why they were special, and special to those around them and things, because they actually went through the process. A lot of stress, a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And not that that's the recipe. Many people can do it without that, and many people don't get there by doing those things. So it's not the recipe, but that was their path. And of course, through being celebrity, we can see their path. But through sex, drugs, and rock and roll, they figured out a better way, and they figured out the way, at least from their skin. They figured out their way, and at least to a very high level. And we see that. And then, of course, when they perish, it becomes extra messed up. So that's the reality there. It's not about who they knew. It's about who they were. It's not about what they were going to say. It's about who they were. It's about what they were doing and what they represented. And, and for that, neither one of them, their association with Dr. CB, neither one of them, were taken because of that. That's a part of their being. But, let's just take Nipsey, for example. I mean, there's so many other things that he was doing that were actually so much bigger than a documentary with CB. Things that only he could do. Anybody could expose Dr. CB, and even Nick Cannon said he's going to do it. And if Nick Cannon does it, it'll be bigger than what Nipsey would have done. And not to say that, but if Nipsey was alive, he wasn't the household name that he is now. And that's just fact, where Nick Cannon is kind of a household name. So now, of course, Nick doing that is, evolutionary in the sense where, but even through Nip's passing, everybody knows about Dr. CB now. So his name's out bigger than ever. And bigger than if it was even in a Nick Cannon video. So, whoever did this had that story out right away. I'd like to see who were the first YouTubers that were putting out that CB story right away. It's amazing. The guy probably barely hit the ground, and they were talking about why he was whacked by, agents of the government. Everybody's saying the government did it because of CB, and no other reason really, but just because of CB. It was incredible to see that reaction, and I'm glad a lot of people took those videos down because they really sounded stupid, and not to diss, but people, they're so quick to jump on the conspiracies, and inherently there's a conspiracy in most every crime. I mean, from people knowing about it to people helping everything that goes on in this world, very little is done by one person. So this guy even, conspiracy with the driver, and she's not in jail, so this is what goes on. And if that's where the end of the conspiracy is, but I do believe that the other video I have, or one of the other videos I have now, is as I begin this channel and this quest, is regarding the larger scale of conspiracy that many people seem to have. And like I said earlier, many people have an interest in what NIPSEY was doing. And like I said, much bigger and much more omnipresent than what SEBI, and the pharmaceutical industry is of course a beast, a bear, everything, like that. So, but not to say that they can just go around doing that over everybody that wants to produce a documentary on something they don't like. So, that's what it boils down to. I'm sure if they could, they would, in that sense. But they have to pick and choose of what's the most important things. And there's guys out there with cancer cures themselves that, have their issues that can't get it to the table. And anyways, but, so I think I've said what I wanted to say here, and just wanted to explain the Dr. Sebi conundrum as it pertains to Lisa and NIPSEY's evolutionary processes. They both went through, like I said, a personal apotheosis that changed them as people and made them not like normal people. And that is a dangerous thing, depending on which way you go. I guess it's always a little dangerous in a sense, but if you go to the good side, it seems like it's most dangerous. And not to say that that it's dangerous inherently, but it's just, if you're fighting the good fight, it's definitely an uphill battle these days. And I think it's, probably always been on this earth, but it's just what it is here. So, enjoy it, and peace to you.